Welcome back to another episode of Community Chats. Today, I'm in the studio with Matt Massey, president of the Alabama School of Cyber Technology and Engineering. We had a great conversation about this incredibly exciting project to educate young minds and prepare them for careers in this tech-oriented world that we live in. Let's roll.
Hey Matt, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Good to be here. Thank you, Jack, for having me. Let me share a little bit of the good news we got going on at our cyber and engineering school.
Yeah, thanks for coming by. Why don't you start by telling our audience a little bit about yourself and kind of your professional interests?
Yeah, I was feel like I was kind of born into the education world. Both my parents were teachers and coaches, and basically got to grow up in the high school at Citronelle. It's a rural town in North Mobile County. And, I started actually, had interest in a career in engineering, started as an engineering major, and then just kind of got gravitated to the educational lifestyle. And so I was at Troy and got a math education degree, and I actually taught a semester at Clark County High School in rural Alabama, and then went to grad school and thought about teaching at college, and I did that at Ole Miss, and just really kind of that passion to that secondary education was kind of drew me in and kind of landed in the Madison County area, and taught math, AP Calculus, coached a bunch of sports, and had an opportunity in 2014 to run for superintendent, which was an elected position, so it was a venture into politics. And but had a successful tenure there and did that for about 5 years, and then had this opportunity to lead really a startup school. Alabama School of Cyber Technology and Engineering. So, exciting to be where we are. Feel blessed, and I've had a great supporting team everywhere I've been.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like it. I think it's interesting that you talk about going from being in this very, specialized technical field like engineering, and then kind of realizing that you have this passion for education. And I think that it's always fascinating to see people who aren't just good at, one specific skill. They're able to take that and, look at it in a perspective of how can I share this with other people? Is that something that's really motivated you?
Yeah, and I think just helping people, help the world be a better place was sort of the overall thing that we all really want to try to do. And and having a conversation this morning with our mathematics instructor, and he was going to start the day with a pretty difficult rational function, a graph that had asymptotes and holes and all this points of discontinuity. And it's like, no, look, let's make sure we bring in why kids are learning this, and how mathematics can be used to model graphs, or whether you're talking about spread of a virus or growth of profits, and so it's to familiarize with that. So connecting education back to the purpose of it, and to embrace that learning piece is what we, it's kind of been a passion of mine, a philosophy of mine, is really believing that all students, all kids can achieve high levels of learning, and it's our job as educators to ensure that happens.
So how many locations do you actually have right now? That's something that I've heard you talk at the Spark event, and I was kind of trying to wrap my head around how big the Alabama School of Cyber Technology and Engineering is right now.
Yeah, so there was a bill that formed the school, was signed into law in the spring of 2018. So the law that created this school is really new, and so we finished our first year of school last year with real students, about 70 students at Oakwood University, and this year we have about 160 students in our second year, and so we're spending 2 years at Oakwood, and then we're moving into our new campus, which will be just up the road on Bradford here, at the intersection of Bradford and Wynn Drive.
Yeah.
And we'll be anywhere around 350 students as we grow out. The bill actually allows for satellite campuses to exist, kind of like if you think of it, the UA system has satellite campuses here, and University of Alabama in Huntsville and University of Alabama in Birmingham. We're going to focus on our Huntsville campus, obviously, but one thing we are going to do with outreach is support middle school, middle grades education outreach, and so we We're going to bring in some kind of underserved areas of Alabama. We want to go there and help those teachers and help those students.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I guess I got a little bit ahead of myself, but why don't you go ahead and tell us what the Alabama School of Cyber Technology and Engineering is?
Yeah, so it is a public independent high school. And by public and independent means that we're almost like a version of the State Department of Education version 2.0 that just kind of governs one school.
Yeah.
So we have a board of trustees of 19 folks that are made up of university presidents and governor appointees that really come in and help govern the school. And it is no tuition for students. We are a residential school, so just for open to students across the state.
Mm-hmm.
So about half of our students will actually reside on campus in a dorm, and they do now.
Yeah.
And they will in our new building. And so we don't charge tuition, just like normal public schools do. But the overall extending mission is to support these cyber and engineering studies in all public schools across the state.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting the way that, obviously with the focus of the school and the location being right next to UAH, I think it's really interesting that you guys are extending that outreach into middle grades, just because that creates this very streamlined kind of pathway for students if they want to, start out even that young, getting kind of to the nitty-gritty of these, very technical issues and learning how to, build up a skill set in engineering, for example.
Well, and that's the big thing we want to create is that opportunity for students that may not have it where
Mm-hmm.
they geographically live. I mean, here in Huntsville, you can't go 20 steps without bumping
Mm-hmm.
into an engineer. But in the town that I grew up in, of about 3,000 people, I'd never met an engineer before I went to college.
Yeah.
I heard about it, and I'm like, oh, well, that might be interesting to major in. Little did I know the chemistry part of it, that of going into the chemical engineering, kind of like, you know what, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
But it's really to create that opportunity for students across the state, and to do that, we're recruiting 8th graders to come in as 9th
Mm-hmm.
graders, but middle schoolers need to know what opportunities exist in Alabama, and so folks up here generally do in Madison County area,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why we really focus a lot on our recruiting efforts outside of this area, and of course local students will gravitate to us as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know that here in Huntsville, it's kind of very possible to get caught up in our own little bubble, and it's hard to remember sometimes that the rest of Alabama can oftentimes be very, very different from Huntsville, just in terms of the opportunities that are available to people. And so, for me, I definitely think it's a huge opportunity to be able to go to school here in the city and live here, and it's just great to have a resource here that's going to be looking at how can we take this good thing that we've got here and invite students from other small towns and say, hey, come check out what's up here. This is an opportunity that you probably never even thought existed, and that's really huge, I'm sure.
Yeah, and there's in Madison County we have elite schools,
Mm-hmm.
And you can just throw a rock and hit one, and we have great independent schools up here. I mean, but we have students that have never been to Huntsville before in their
Mm-hmm.
life, or they may have gone one time and then saw the Rockets and knew that this was a little bit of a kind of a lighthouse sort of a place. But we don't want to just be kind of stuck up here and saying, come
Mm-hmm.
to us. We really want to get that outreach. We want to get in boots on the ground and across the state. And what's going to be cool is that Alabama students are now going to have a leg up on jobs and workforce development that really even students from other states are moving to Alabama to try to be part of our school.
Yeah, I mean, I think that so many students typically really only start getting experience and education in a technical field once they get into college. And so being able to start that from such a young age, really, I'm sure like that's such a huge step up in the job market and opens up so many more opportunities to you. It's not just, you know, an opportunity that you have while you're in high school. It means the difference over the course of, 50 years in the career options that a student is going to have. It's just, I think that's super impressive.
Yeah, it's and that's part of what we want to focus on, those educational opportunities that aren't just happening in the classroom, but those relationships with and mentorships that our students will have with our industry partners and our governmental partners and higher ed partners.
Yeah.
Is exciting.
Yeah. So can you kind of tell a little bit about the history of the school and like what inspired it? How long have you been working on it and how has it grown over the years?
I'll say kind of going back before 2018. So in 2018, legislation was introduced and passed, but the momentum behind that, I would say, started with when the mayor started, Mayor Battle started Cyber Huntsville. And one of the goals of Cyber Huntsville was to create, help develop those cyber educations through camps and supporting that in local schools. But their bigger vision was to have an independent school. That was a secondary school. So that vision and the chamber got behind, supported that, and really that lobbying effort towards the governor and key legislators is what made that happen. So it was really a grassroots effort. That was a combination of industry saying this is a need. The cyber workforce is a huge growing field, and there's not folks to fill it. And industry folks are having, when they have openings or have a contract that needs to fill, they're stealing cyber workers from other place. And you also got this engineering component that now more than ever engineers have to be cyber conscious. So when they're engineering things, that is cyber protected. And and that's a new field. And so it is the genesis of the school really started with, I would say not really from educrats that spent their whole life in career and education, but really from industry folks that have said, hey, this is a need. So just that nature is going to make us very responsive to what's going on in industry, what's going to change. And so that's why whatever we create as part of our curriculum and course design for this year, that's probably, we're going to have to be able and nimble to modify that 4 years from now, 6 years from now, or 1 year from now. Yeah. So maintaining those industry relationships and really embracing that is what makes our school pretty unique and will eventually be a national model.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. And so really, I mean, the whole concept of the school fits pretty perfectly here in Huntsville. And so I was wondering what kind of the biggest benefits that you expect the school's location here in Huntsville to have for it. Is that going to mean internships and, what kind of opportunities are students going to have because of the school's location?
Yeah, strategically, and when this was formed, it was this needs to be in Cummings Research Park. Yeah. And just with our neighbors surrounding us, both big and smaller companies, our opportunities for our kids are going to be right there. Now, our students are required to do an internship. It's not optional. They have to actually do that for graduation.
Great.
So being able to kind of be right in the middle of everything that's happening is going to allow our kids to easily get where they need to go, and it's going to allow for us to monitor them as part of our academic kind of curriculum. It's going to be watching them as they're doing their internship and making sure that's going well and spending a little bit of time at school, maybe 1 day a week. But we do believe that learning happens outside those classroom walls. So we had to be in the middle of the action.
Definitely. So do you expect that companies will create internships specifically for students at the school?
Yeah, and that's happening now. So we have we have 2 students that piloted an internship program with Space Missile Defense Command last year, 2 16-year-olds. It was a program that they had developed for colleges and universities, and we got on their radar pretty early, and I've got a pretty good relationship with those guys and their leadership, and so they were kind of the first to say, hey, we're going to allow 16-year-olds to do this. So that to follow has been other governmental agencies and other local businesses. Just this morning we had a conversation. We've got another local business, Colsa, is going to do a summer internship opportunity for our students. And so that will be just a summer internship, but we're also going to have a full-length one during that academic year. And so what they're doing, that model is once you get a couple of them in place, other folks will kind of look at that and go, okay, this works. We can draft it up like that, run it through legal, HR, all that good stuff. And get it in. And it's not something we just want to keep to ourselves. We want to expand this out. And I actually did this in Madison County before coming here. The senior year of high school is students typically can take a break from that. You got most of your requirements done, and you're cutting your senior year, and you typically don't even go to school a full day. So my fourth year in, we kind of ended that seeking employment phase, and we required it to be like an internship. So we had 700 kids in Madison County doing internships. As a senior, my last year there, and now managing that was hard. We had 4 teachers. That's all they did was manage those kids. Where are you going? Talking to their bosses, and are you showing up? All that kind of stuff. So after doing that on that scale, being able to build it in, especially we started with 9th and 10th graders. So we got a couple years to really develop those relationships, and we want to monitor it closely, make sure our kids are in a good spot and getting taken care of and getting authentic experiences, not just, refilling coffee and stapling papers, but really doing quality work. So it's going to be a robust internship experience.
I know that, your education really is a small part of the picture when it comes to actually landing a job, as far as what's going to set you above other people. It's all about experience.
It is, and we believe that. I believe that, but also our partners see that. Hey, for them to hire, instead of, if you can grow kind of your own talent pool, or you get a chance to have 10 of our kids kind of go through their program, and then they pick the 4 that are really good fits for them. So so for our industry partners, these kids that are doing internships with them, they want to pay for their college and then hire them back. And so it's going to just be a really unique, I think, a pipeline type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, that kind of very streamlined pathway, because I can just see how, as a kid going to the school, it's going to be like, if you're working in engineering and that's where you're really interested in, it's kind of a no-brainer. Just go right down the road from where you're going to high school and start going to UAH and get a degree in aerospace. And, it's all kind of figured out. It takes a lot of the, well, I gotta look around and figure out, which state am I going to have to move to go to the school that is going to be teaching, it's got a good program and what I want to learn. It's just, very much you're in the spot already.
Well, and that's what's great for our kids, puts them in a great spot, because UAH is right down the road. They're going to be very well aware of the programs here. But also, you got the University of South Alabama that's on our board, and they have a cyber program there, and they want some of our kids. And Auburn has a cyber center, and they want some of our kids, and Alabama does as well. So
awesome.
We're going to get, and in fact, we've got colleges that are going to be coming in and rolling through, meeting our kids and recruiting our kids to come there. So it is our kids aren't going to have to necessarily go out hard to look at. We've got universities coming in, recruiting them on site.
That's awesome.
So that's what's great about it, and that's one of the things that we really want to emphasize is to show that the universities here in Alabama, the universities have a lot to offer and are on the cutting edge, because they also have partners with some of the same folks we're partnering with.
Yeah.
And so when we were talking to parents about who's the right fit for this, we actually have one parent that's like, well, our student really doesn't want industry experience. Our child doesn't want industry experience. We kind of think, when this was the parent speaking, to maybe go to Stanford and be a PhD in mathematics and teach at the college level. And so they were kind of asking, can we just opt out of the internship things? And we're like, no, that's part of what we do. So, we'll have students that will go to MIT. We have a relationship with them as well. We're not just saying, hey, guys, you got to move out of state to go get a good higher education. There's so much right here that you have. And those relationships that are going to be there with our partners is you got so many of them right here in Alabama. So that's what's pretty exciting.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm sure with something that's, as innovative as the school, there's got to be a lot of very unique challenges that you've faced. And so I'm wondering kind of, what you've done to get past those and what are some of the biggest, hurdles that you've had to jump.
Yeah, well, you've got ninth graders that are now living with us. So
yeah, that's
a challenge. You're now a parent to we have 60 residential kids now that are 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. And you got some 11th graders that want to go out and about or go get a job and work, even get a little cash in their pocket. And you've got ninth graders that this past week, they got their washers and dryers mixed up. They thought the dryer was the washer, and they were washing their clothes in the dryer and drying it in the washer. So teaching those kind of those life skills, if you've got a disagreement with your roommate, or if you're have a different philosophy, or or different religion, and those kind of things, and learning how to talk to them and still be friends with them and be supportive. Those are the which I think are all great experiences for these kids, but we have to be intentional about that. We can't just go, hey, figure it out. Figure out what's, how to do that. And from just lifestyle of eating, of like, you need to eat vegetables. You need to put good food in front of them and not just sit in your room and eat Doritos. Those are the kind of things of eating breakfast and working how to study. We had a conversation. Do we really teach our kids how to study? And kind of my perspective was how you study for math might be different than how you study for science or your engineering. So we those are the kind of things that I would say are the challenges that I haven't faced before. But we've there are boarding schools that have been around for hundreds of years, and I've gone and visited with those heads of schools on their campuses and try to get good tips and ideas and things that would work for ours. I would say one difference is like kids that would go to a boarding school, typically it's on their parents' radar because it's an investment. It probably costs $30,000-$40,000 a year to typical boarding school. Yeah. And it's no cost to us. So before that cost, a kid doesn't just come home and go, oh, I want to go to Baylor or Macaulay and you can stroke that tuition check parent. That typically is not how it happens. That's a parental kind of family decision that's in the making. But for us, we're getting on kids' radars, and then their parents like, hey, I want to go to this school. And their parents are like, wait, what? I thought we were going to have you another 4 years before you moved off, went to college, that kind of thing. Yeah. So I would say how we have a relationship with parents is one of telling kids, hey, call your mom, FaceTime, check in. We close housing once a month just to make everybody go home because we kind of learned that some kids will just stay with you the whole time and never go home except for like at Christmas. So those are the things that I would say that are challenging to try to find the right solution for our students. But it also gives an environment where some of these kids are in a place where they're getting meals every night and they're getting study time designated, and they haven't had a situation like that. They may go to bed without dinner, or they may just be making their own sandwich before they go to bed, or they may not have ever done homework at home. So so there's a lot of opportunity in that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I hadn't even considered that aspect of things just because, for me, the idea of being very, for me, learning a lot of that stuff was something I learned when I got to college. And so, I'm sure that it's less of a shock once you actually get to college if you had a chance to, dip your toes into the water and really start working through some of those, like you said, life skills that, it's not necessarily how do you work this equation.
Yes. To what temperature do you wash your colored clothes on? It's
Yeah.
cold, not hot.
Yeah.
So we got to teach them that. So.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So that's also a really good opportunity. You get a chance to teach students a lot of things that a normal school definitely doesn't teach, and that, they might not be learning at home.
Yeah.
So what do you kind of see as being in store for the future of the school?
Well, it's I think we're going to be kicking in another gear in our third year when we're in our new building. I think it's going to be. We've already got school leaders from around the nation coming and visiting our campus now, our temporary campus at Oakwood. They've been a great partner with us. But we're already on the radar presenting at national conferences, and got other schools wanting to look at how we're doing things. From even just our grading system is different. We don't give A through Fs. We don't grade on a 100-point scale. We grade off on learning. When students learn a skill, then that's how they get their grade.
Yeah.
And so all of that, of rethinking education and being in our new facility with state-of-the-art equipment and with an environmental setting that is going to be conducive to other people coming in and seeing what we've got going on is going to be huge for us. And I think it's going to just launch it into the next level of stratosphere that we're going to be going into.
Yeah. Well, from the ITC, I'd like to, thank you very much for coming down to the studio and having a chat, telling us more about the Alabama School of Cyber Technology and Engineering.
Thank you, Jack.
Thanks for coming by, Matt. In my opinion, the ASCTE is one of the most exciting new developments in Huntsville. I really think it has the chance to transform this city into something even greater than the tech hub it already is. Thanks once again to all of our listeners for tuning in. While you wait for the next episode of Community Chats, be sure to follow us on all of our socials. At UAH I2C on Instagram and Twitter, and UAH Invention to Innovation Center on Facebook. Onward and upward.